Hello. I just had hold on one setting here. Here we go. There we go. Start the music again. Ready, set, go, boom.
You feel this nervousness on the phone there?
Sir, I've been trying to make an urgent phone call up there.
Well, I don't think it's something I want to do on an overseas phone.
You gotta make some phone calls. Hang up the phone. Prank call.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to Packernet After Dark. This is the call-in show of the Packernet Podcast Network. If you'd like to call in, if you'd like to participate in the show, please feel free to do so. The phone number here is 608-501-0718. New callers go directly to the front of the line, and the phone lines are now officially open. So hopefully you're not calling trying to leave a message and don't realize, but you got to be on your toes, man. Got to hit that little bell button, you know what I mean? So get the notification, everything's going live. Anyways, in the meantime, let's start with Trucker Bob.
Hey, Ryan.
Hey.
Trucker Bob here.
Trucker Bob.
Doing our cross-country thing. We're in Oklahoma, having come from Phoenix, Arizona, and heading for Dover, Delaware.
Nice.
Anyways, I got a couple things I'd like to ask you questions on. First, talk about Jersey Mike and the crazy New Jersey drivers.
Yeah.
Our truck has radar on it, and I could tell the distance of a vehicle in front of me, what speed they're going. For instance, if there's a car in front of me, it'll tell me it's 488 feet ahead, going 65 miles an hour. It also tells me the speed of vehicles that are passing me up. And when I've been in Jersey, it has not been unusual that somebody goes flying past me on the turnpike out there at 80, 90 miles per hour. So, yes, Jersey drivers do that. However, the record happened to us when I was out in Louisiana at 3 o'clock in the morning one night out at I-10. This group of motorcycles, like about a half a dozen of them, went past me at 3 a.m. and it clocked them at 118 miles an hour. It scared the crap out of me. It was like a bunch of roaring lions all of a sudden showing up and being right outside your left window. Anyways, I have two questions for you about tonight's game, and I really enjoyed our defensive line. Really looks good, that starting defensive line. But my question is this. They said in the game that defensive coordinator or defensive coach, Barry, is now sitting up in the press box looking down on the field. My question is, do you think that will actually give him a better view of the game, what the offense and defense is doing versus being on the sideline? Can he actually coach better from up there than on the sideline? And then my second question is, don't you think Green Bay is going to have to keep 4 running backs on the 53 roster since both Taylor and Wilson have both shown they belong? I mean, Wilson is really impressive. That guy knows how to smell out a hole and go bursting through it. And Taylor's just such a good all-around back doing everything that they ask of him. He can block, he can play special teams, he can run, he can catch. He's a good all-around player. So because of these two, do you not think Green Bay's going to have to put 4 running backs on the roster? Because if they cut either one of them, they're going to get picked up by other teams. Anyways, thank you. Go Pack, go.
Well, as always, I appreciate the call, Trucker Bob, and the updates on where you're at. It's crazy to me. You'll call the next day, and you're halfway across the country already. But, yeah, I know. I'm a little surprised that's the fastest you've ever clocked anybody, considering how much you're on the road. I feel like I've gotten the Astro van probably up to 109 when I was younger. As far as the Joe Barry situation, I don't necessarily buy it in terms of, I mean, maybe, but he knows, all coaches, I have a feeling, know the positives and negatives of being up in the booth and being down on the field. And remember, we did this soul song and dance last time with Mike Pettin. He liked to be up in the booth, and then we convinced him to come down on the field, and it was all crazy. It was going to be great because he's going to be able to interact with his guys, and it's, whatever. I don't know what all the positives and negatives are. I assume it would be difficult. I feel like it would be difficult to do your job from the sideline. You can't really get a good view of what's going on, but that's where your head coach is. But I think the head coach is getting fed a ton of information from the guys upstairs, and I think that's exactly how the defensive coordinator operates. He's got eyes in the sky, kind of giving them a bunch of details. They're charting things. They're kind of telling them, tendencies and all that kind of stuff. And so that if you can do that, if you can manage with them handling that up there and being able to hold it in your brain and process it, then you have the ability to be down on the field. You get to talk to your guys. I mean, directly go up to them on the bench and say, hey, we need this. You got to do this. Good play, this, that, or the other. I think it's important to be able to talk to the guys. But if you can't necessarily do it, or you think it would be better to handle that responsibility yourself as opposed to your subordinates taking that job, then yeah, I guess you should be up in the booth. So I don't know, man. There are positives and negatives, and different guys do better in different roles. I'm not necessarily buying it. In fact, if anything, I'm more nervous about it because he knows how to handle being on the sideline, and he's never really been up in the booth. So whatever, we'll see if he sticks with that for week 1 for the season, however that's going to pan out. And I don't know. I just can't imagine it moves the needle. As far as the running backs, I would say it's more likely they keep 2 running backs than 4 running backs. Again, I understand the excitement about Emmanuel Wilson, but I don't know that he necessarily fills a need. According to the coaches, they want the number 3 guy to be essentially what Patrick Taylor is. They don't need another Aaron Jones. Now, if Aaron Jones gets injured, maybe you could talk about bringing him up from the practice squad. And yes, I do think Emmanuel Wilson, I know for a fact Patrick Taylor's not getting picked up. I mean, there's no way. I would be kind of surprised if Emmanuel Wilson does as well. As a fan base, we tend to overestimate the need for these guys. I already kind of talked about it yesterday. This is prior to whenever Trucker Bob would have called in, but all 32 teams are doing the same dance where they're just trying to make sure they can bring their guys back in. They're not as worried about poaching somebody else that's never even taken a snap. And we don't, oh my goodness. What's what she said, Goose? What did I even say? You're such a loser. Anyways. Oh yeah, the running back situation. I think so. Here's I guess what you'd have to do. Right now I have Patrick Taylor on. A lot of people say 2. I'm just going to say it's Patrick Taylor. I've got it at 53. It's definitely doable, but we're going to have to make a cut somewhere. So is it Sean Clifford? No. Is it either DeGuara, Kraft, and Musgrave? No. And to be fair, they're probably going to add a tight end, so we might have to cut 2 people here. Is it going to be Watson, Dobbs, Reed, Turay, Wicks, or Heath? I don't think so. We could potentially cut Heath off of there. Offensive line. Maybe you get rid of the center. They've already moved Jake Hansen. They released him or waived him. James Empey is now in that spot. Are we going to remove James Empey and just go with 9 offensive linemen? That's doable. We could get rid of Jonathan Ford along the defensive line. Edge, there's almost no way. I mean, it would have to be Justin Hollins, I would guess, and then we would only have 4, which is not going to work. If anything, people want more edge rushers, Brenton Cox. Get rid of Eric Wilson, the linebacker? I really doubt it, especially with his special teams contributions. Are we going to take off Carrington Valentine or whoever the backup slot corner would be, either Ennis Gaines or Shamar Jean-Charles? Are they going to get cut? Safety, I've got a bunch, but who are you getting rid of? Maybe Tarvarius Moore, possibly. I don't know. I mean, it is doable, but we got to also understand that every person we put on, we got to take somebody off. And, we've got people, they want Wilson on, we want Grant DeBose on, we want Austin Allen in at tight end, we want Caleb Jones playing on the offensive line. These are all people that I do not have on the 53 right now. We want Brenton Cox in there. If we can find a spot for Tariq Carpenter, that'd be great. Corey Ballantyne's look good. Ennis Gaines has looked good. We got to make some tough cuts. And this is one that I just don't think it feels tough for us because he's had some good runs. I just don't think it's going to be tough for the Packers. I could be way off base on this and he's completely locked in. I just don't think that that's going to be a big issue for them. So Blake in Michigan.
Ryan, this is Blake from Michigan. It's been a couple months since I called in. It is the morning after the Patriots preseason game. I've got 3 football questions and 1 life question for you. 2 football questions.
I love doing this live. And this is what made me just chuckling to myself yesterday because I couldn't read the comments and I assumed it was this. I can't even read what is happening in the comment section right now. You guys are out of control. You know that? Absolutely out of control.
About the preseason game last night. One thing that I was wondering, maybe between Clayton has been covered already, but with the returner job, the number 1 returners, are we still thinking Nixon at kick returner and maybe Jaden Reed at punt returner? Or those?
I think Nixon at kick returner is 100%. Reed at punt returner. I mean, they've done like the last game. You know, they gave Samori Toure punt and kicks. So we didn't really get a chance to see. I do think Jaden Reed's going to be the punt returner, but I don't know. We haven't seen a ton of it. It might be Keyshawn Nixon. I don't know if he's 100% locked that up or not, but definitely going to be Keyshawn Nixon. We'll see about Jaden Reed. He looked good, and I think more than anything, he looks comfortable catching it. Knock on wood or whatever, if I can find some wood around here. He looks really comfortable, and I don't think he's going to end up letting it hit the ground as much.
Our 2 starters there. Where do you see that kind of shaking out as of week 2 of the preseason in the books? Second quick question for you. I noticed last night Toure Samori, he was taking a lot of returns, and then I didn't really notice him. Maybe you could check the PFF snap counts for this or figure this out some way. I noticed that Samori didn't really get any receiver reps till the second half, like late third quarter. So maybe, I don't know, where do we think he is kind of standing right now? I'm wondering if he could be like a sneaky cut candidate. I don't know, maybe go through your 53 and discuss that a little bit. Is Samori 100% safe on this roster? Life question for you.
Hold up. All right. I was just trying to pull up the PFF stuff here. So I can't see like by quarter or whatever, but I can see how many routes they ran. And he was actually number 2. Now, you know, again, granted, he came out later. And I will say, because I guarantee you almost everybody listening is like, cut this guy off. Don't ever let him on again. How dare you? How dare you slander Samori Toure? I think there's almost no chance he gets cut, but let me throw a little fuel on the fire here. Do you remember? It's going to piss so many people off. Do you remember Amari Rodgers? Do you remember when they tried to make a receiver out of him and they didn't like it, and so they tried to save his job? And what did they do to save his job? They tried to make him a returner. And we couldn't understand why they forced it on him so much. Why are they pushing it so hard when he's so bad at it? The reason is if he loses that job, he's out. He's getting cut. He lost his job, and they just let him go. They didn't try to bring him back as a receiver. I'm just saying, if he's out there, trying to get a bunch of punts, and he's not really out there until the third quarter, fourth quarter, or whatever. I mean, he's clearly not the top 3. The idea that he's sort of the number 1 slot guy or whatever, that's garbage. That's never been the case. Reed is that guy. We assume Samori Toure is the next up, and I think that's probably the case. But Malik Heath and Tay Wicks have been pretty fantastic. Some more fuel to the fire. He ran the second most routes of anybody on the team. And he had the lowest receiving grade on the team. He had 1 target and 0 receptions. You know, I'll say that there's almost a 0% chance he gets cut this year. I will say, though, I think you start looking at next year after they get a chance to evaluate Watson, Dobbs, Reed, Tay Wicks, Malik Heath, Grant DeBose. You know, again, he's a 7th-round pick, man. That's basically an undrafted free agent. And look at Malik Heath. He seems to be a better receiver right now. So we've got a bunch of guys that are, I would say, on Samori Toure's level, with the exception of not necessarily understanding the offense or having sort of that relationship with Jordan Love like Toure sort of does. I think you give it a year, we reevaluate this. I think it's possible. But again, you are getting us both in trouble here with these questions.
we'll get to the last football one. I have a 2.5-year-old girl. Just found out that girl number 2 is going to be here after the season. So I'm going to have 2 daughters. I know you've got multiple kids.
I got a daughter the same age, too.
I've heard people say in the past going from 1 kid to 2 kid is one of the biggest jumps in difficulty as far as parenting goes. Where do you stand on going from kid 1 to kid 2, and any tips for having 2 girls back to back? Just parenting tips. And then last football question.
You know, it's funny because I moved really quickly. My wife had a daughter already. So when I got married, I went from, I was living at home with my grandparents. I got my own place very shortly after becoming an adult with my own home and my own career. Finally, very quickly thereafter, I'm married. So I'm now a husband and I'm also a dad, just instantly. That's a big change. And it's crazy how hard it felt. Like you don't realize how unbelievably selfish you are until like every movement you make is like has to be run through a filter of like the family. It's not about you. It's about, so that was difficult. But then you have 2 kids and it's like, it was so easy before. I cannot believe how much I freaking complained about how hard it was. It was not hard. And then, you go to 3, you go to 4, and 3 was definitely difficult. I think by the time 4 came around, my wife and I both semi-checked out. Just kind of like, whatever. That kid is going to be just spoiled, rotten, just the worst. She can just do whatever she wants. I don't care anymore. The first child is very like disciplined because it was like everything had to be perfect and whatever. It is what it is, man. The good news is though, everybody just adapts, right? It's kind of like when you're a kid, it's like, dude, I couldn't be an adult. That's scary. I wouldn't know how to do it. And then you become an adult and it's like, it ain't that bad. You get a job and it's scary and you just adapt to it. Just like you adapted to having 1 kid. It was not easy having a kid. Big adjustment. And then you have 2 and it's going to be kind of immediate shock. Not really immediate shock. It's just cool immediately. But then it kind of gets to be work after a while. And then you just kind of push through that period and it's just your life. And then just also remember that someday you may have a 3rd and you're going to be wishing that you only had 2. So just enjoy it, I guess. But I mean, that's the big thing overall anyways, is just to enjoy it. You got one more question. We'll get back to it. Let's see what's going on over here with Brandon. What's going on, Brandon?
Oh, who is it?
You didn't know we were live, did you?
I did not know I was live. Is this Ryan?
Yeah, dude.
Okay, Ryan. I have a quick question.
All right.
And it involves the hiring of Tom Clements 2 years ago as the quarterback coach.
Yeah.
Do you think in a weird roundabout way, Rodgers wanted Clements back to help teach Jordan Love what he learned 18 years ago from Tom Clements?
That's actually a pretty interesting thought. I'm gonna drop you off here. I appreciate the call and the question. And if you want to check it out, like I said, we're live right now, so you can go watch.
I appreciate the question and your answer, and thank you very much.
All right, man. Have a good one.
Go back.
Yeah. Well, I always love a good conspiracy theory on the show, and we're going to throw that in the conspiracy theory bucket, that this was a big grand scheme by Aaron Rodgers to help Jordan Love. And I also like it because most of the conspiracy theories around Aaron Rodgers are negative. It's all about how he's using his big jerk powers to become the biggest douche of them all. And so this one's a little bit more fun. It is kind of cool too, because you can play with it insofar as, what does he have to learn from him? I mean, maybe it's a stupid question. He could always teach you more stuff, but I mean, this guy really helped to build Aaron Rodgers. I mean, I guess for him, it's just kind of a friend in the building. But the biggest benefit probably was Jordan Love. And yeah, I don't have any issue. Do I think it's true? Probably not. But we'll just keep that between us. Let's say it's true, because it's a fun story. All right, Aaron Rodgers knows his time is short. He gets that. So he's going to bring in the guy that helped build him. He's going to bring him in. He just buddy like, dude, listen, I don't need to hear your bull crap. All right, you already put me through the paces. Just help the kid. All right, because when I'm out of here, I want him to be on solid footing. I don't want him to get obliterated in my shadow or whatever. He understands. It's a fantastic story, so we're going to run with it and we're going to say it's true. Let's finish Blake's call here.
One of my favorite questions to ask about the Packers. Can you confirm or deny the Bears still suck? Thank you very much. Have a good one. Bye.
Can confirm the Bears still suck. And I tell you what, you have inspired me. I got to do a better job of getting like some soundboard stuff on here. I may be doing a little switcheroo in the near future where I can actually have a soundboard. That's one of the things that needs to be on there is the Bears still suck, but I don't have it queued up. Real quick, I want to hit these comment section. Way behind, but Thomas Austin, loyal person, says, how many edge rushers are currently on? I personally have Rashawn Gary, Preston Smith, Justin Hollins, Lucas Van Ness, and Kingsley Enagbare. I would guess a good portion of Packer fans, if asked, have Brenton Cox. In fact, I think maybe the poll that I had would answer that. But again, we're live, so I can't go dig that up. I don't necessarily hate that, but again, he's very unlikely to get stolen if we decide to go practice squad with him. I think he's got a lot of potential. We see it, but it also feels reckless. Somebody showed a highlight of him and he cut way to the inside. And it's like, oh man, what a great pressure. It's like, dude, that edge is gone. Like there is a whole field over there that's wide open. And he did it again on the other side, and that's when the quarterback ran for a touchdown. So, and again, I don't know the coaching points and all that, but I just think he is. I'll say this because I was given a lot of crap for being a denier or whatever, which I'm not trying to be negative. It's just a reality. He's undrafted for a reason. And it's not just off the field stuff. I mean, there are guys who are elite early first round picks who have off the field issues that get picked, 17th instead of 4th. They don't go undrafted, but especially for like weed offenses, that's nonsense. But I will concede as a I don't proclaim myself to be a Brenton Cox hater, but everybody else does. I will concede that he has impressed me. He is a really impressive pass rusher, but I think he's raw and I think he needs time to develop. Does he need to be on the 53 to do that? Not necessarily. Can he be on the 53? Do I trust that he'd be a decent rotational player? Yeah, maybe, but I don't think he has to be. So I don't think it's a necessity that we put him on the 53. I think it's a necessity that we make sure that we retain him, and I think we will. And I think the practice squad is a perfect spot for him. He can sit, he can learn, he can grow. Next year we come back, we reevaluate some stuff, and maybe he can make a push, And there's another preseason game coming up. There's another practice coming up. We'll see. Again, he is definitely a bubble guy that I am kind of torn on. I've got to kind of get through here and try to refine this a little bit. I'm doing a thing with Mr. Jake Shavink and JJ with our 53. So I got to make sure I got this buttoned up, but I don't intend to have Brenton Cox on it. I would love for you guys to try to persuade me while we're here though. Comment section. We will come back in a minute. Let's see what Dakota's got going on.
Hey y'all, this is Dakota, that nerd in Tennessee. I've been wanting to call on several different occasions, but I've been working and I get real fired up after hearing some folks talk on there on Packernet After Dark, and then I can't call back immediately. I have to take care of something at work, and then the fire just kind of dissipates. And I don't know if anybody else does that. Like I'll get real revved up for a second, and then something will distract me. I'm like, well, I don't have that passion anymore. The call's not going to be as good. Like when Jersey Mike called at one time was, telling how to be a leader and how, Aaron Rodgers wouldn't do it. But what Jordan Love needs to do is get Tucker Kraft and say, tell him you're bigger than him. You're a dog. I got fired up, man. Look, that was some good stuff. Anyway, about 30 minutes later, after I heard that and I took care of something at work, I didn't have any fire anymore. So that's just completely pointless. What I really wanted to talk about was
what it means is that the fire isn't in you, man. You got to build the fire in yourself. That's the thing. That's the Tony Robbins speech of the day. I don't know if he would say that or not, but I'm just saying. Other people get you jacked up, but you don't have it in you. And I'm probably not helping you much because I'm just a freaking walking wet blanket.
So I do not understand this Jonathan Owen experiment.
I don't either.
I mean, if he's a situational player that has gap duties as a safety, okay. But I mean, I saw Rudy Ford of the relatively few plays I got to see, because I could not figure out how the heck to watch this game against the Patriots without it dying on me. But I saw Rudy Ford, run up, make a tackle. It looked nice. I don't know what his grade was. I assume it wasn't that good, but I also assume it was better than Jonathan freaking Owen. So I'm not entirely sure what was going on with this Jonathan Owen experiment. I do not understand. I think we just need to put Rudy Ford up in there, leave Rasul where he's at, hope that Carrington Valentine can contribute in a real NFL game, but he don't need to be up, taking Rasul's spot. It just, I don't know. I'm confused. But, yeah, as you can tell, I'm a little distracted, so I guess I'm going to leave it there. Jonathan Owen experiment. Thoughts? All right. Peace, y'all.
Well, what's crazy about it is, oh my goodness, I just looked this up for my own edification. I am 100,000% on board with everything that you're saying right now because I don't get it. I said it already. If you look last year, 2 of the worst safeties in football, like bottom 5, were Darnell Savage, as we know, right? Guy struggled. The other was Jonathan Owens. Just horrifically bad. As of right now, it appears that Jonathan Owens, if I had to guess, is our number 2 safety. He's been getting the most snaps. I think today was Ford, but Rudy Ford hasn't had number 2 snaps in like over a month. It's been a long time. So, as I said, Jonathan Owens was horrifically bad last year. And we brought him on, and I didn't really understand why. Just through the preseason, I want to give you the grades through 2 weeks for all of our safeties that have played semi-significant snaps. Some of them are filtered out, including Savage. But actually, you know what? Let me just see, just to see if it makes my point even better. You know what it does? Let's just include everybody, even if they don't have a ton of snaps. Actually, our highest graded safety is Darnell Savage. He only took 6 snaps, but he has a 74 grade. Tarvarius Moore, 73.6. Dallin Levitt, 70.6. Anthony Johnson, 70.2. Very close together. Benny Sapp, 66.5. Rudy Ford, 66.3. So all of our safeties, 66 to 74. Like they're right, you can't even see my hands, right sandwiched in there. Jonathan Owens is a 47.3. 47.3. Freaking, what are we doing here? No, he hasn't given up a touchdown, but 2 targets, 1 reception, 32 yards. That's the most given up. The next most is Anthony Johnson giving up 10 yards. 22 yards after the catch is the most. Average up the target is the most. Highest passer rating when targeted. So he was one of the worst safeties in football last year, and we're going to try to put him next to Savage, who is one of the worst safeties in football, despite the fact that Jonathan Owens right now is one of the worst safeties in the preseason. I'm with you. I don't have any answers to the question, my friend, and I hope that either we are just completely blind to something or that the Packers see it and they're just trying to give him as best of a shot as they can before they cut him. I don't know. I don't really understand the Jonathan Owens thing. But again, it does appear to me anyways that he is going to be probably going to be. Why have I gotten 70,000 phone calls? Blaine, dude, I'm doing the podcast. Blaine and my wife and doctor and 1-800 and nobody ever calls me. Rashawn Gary, Andy says in the comment section, is back in action. Does he get over or under 1.5 sacks against the Chicago Bears? I think it's a fantastic question. I'm going to go with under. I shouldn't. Should be a hype thing, but I'm going to. But I think 1 would be fantastic. But if you're in the comment section live, drop a comment. I'm curious what you guys think. I think he gets a sack. But if I had to set the line, I'd probably set it at 0.5, but everybody would go over. So you're probably right to set it there. Where are we at with time? That's perfect timing. Thomas Austin says 1.5 is right on. Go through some comments real quick. Coda says, unfortunately, I do remember Amari Rodgers. Rodgers screwed Rodgers. So excited. Bain is back. Also, I like Toure, but if we have 6 wide receivers better than him, then I'm good with moving on. DeBose or Toure. Heath, you mean Lizard King. 2.0. Yes, I do. All right. Why don't we take a quick break? We'll come back and we'll see what Jeff from Minneapolis has to say.
Ryan, here's Jeff calling in again. Hey, question for you. I'm looking at the Packers roster, and it looks like this is a team that could keep 7 wide receivers. When you start to look at who you don't want to lose by putting on the practice squad, I'm wondering if you're going to keep 7. Thoughts on that? Thanks, bud.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I mean, it's doable, but kind of like everything else, is it necessary? Because I'm guessing 7 would have to be who? DeBose? Who would 7 be? I should get this comment off of here before I get in trouble. I don't know what that means. I'm trying to figure out what the heck you're talking about. Yeah, I don't see the necessity of it. I think the assumption would be Grant DeBose, at least as far as my 53. Some people maybe already have him on. But I have Watson, Dobbs, Reed, Turay, Wicks, and Heath. And I don't necessarily see a need for anybody else. You know, Bo Melton had like a little flash of something, but he hasn't done much since, and he's been injured for a while. Cody Crest had like 2 games where he kind of broke out after he got here and has been quiet since. He had the 1 catch in preseason. And then Jadix Bonds and Deuce Watts. I mean, there's just no way. So, yeah, we could do 7. We could put Grant DeBose on there. Again, I don't see it as necessity. If I was going to add somebody, again, you've got Brenton Cox just staring at you in the face. I don't know who else I'd want to put on here. I've got a pretty loaded 53. Caleb Jones is a consideration, not that we necessarily need him. Austin Allen would be probably one of the biggest ones, or a tight end of some stripe. And yeah, you could say Emmanuel Wilson, I guess, if you had to add somebody. But yes, you could do 7. I don't think they're going to do 7. And again, I just don't necessarily see the necessity of it.
Ryan, Kyle from Madison, how are you? Hope you had a good weekend, man. Enjoyed the game. So maybe you'll have talked about all this stuff by the time this plays, but which is usually the case. But I just want to give my couple notes on the game. I'll try to get it all in one phone call. Probably won't happen. I'll call back. But I wanted to start with just a response to your response to my take on the Creed Humphrey conversation last week. So I hear what you're saying, right? I hear what you're saying. I'm not one of these people that's like on the hill dying about TJ Watt versus Kevin King. But, and I thought Myers played okay. I think that snap was on him, if I understand LaFleur correctly, that he thought the guy had jumped and he's supposed to trigger the football, you know, to catch the guy in the neutral zone, but it just wasn't. But I'm not going to, you know, whatever. It's preseason. I'm not going to hold that against him. I'm not saying the guy's going to be a bust. I'm just saying when you see what Humphrey's doing for the Chiefs and you imagine that on us. But I do.
No, and again, all I'm saying is they're kind of separate things, right? We missed on Creed Humphrey, as everybody did. I mean, that dude should have been a borderline top 10 pick. I mean, he's one of the best offensive linemen in football. If anybody had known he was going to be that good, he would have been gone a long time ago, even though he's a center. But I just separate them. You know what I mean? It seems a little bit unfair because rather than judging the pick based on what he is, which I genuinely think he's a pretty good center. I know I am like the 1% in this conversation. But again, the pass blocking is the most important thing, and he has it. Run blocking isn't great. Most offensive linemen are not super good run blockers. And there's, I mean, do you think Zach Tom's going to come in and down? He can't even run block as a tackle. What difference is he going to make as a center? So the snapping is an issue for sure, but I think we have a good center. He took a big jump from year 1 to year 2. I'm still excited to see if he takes a jump from year 2 to year 3. I'm still waiting to see that. And man, I mean, oh, whatever. It doesn't matter. But again, they're 2 separate things. I don't want to say that the one is a failure because it could have been somebody else. So yes, there's a miss at Creed Humphrey, which again, everybody missed on. Except the Chiefs the second time around. I'm assuming they had it first. But I want him to be judged and the pick to be judged on its own merits. And so far, I don't think it's a bad pick. I don't. We'll see. If this thing becomes a massive disaster, which I don't think it will. I mean, there were issues with Rodgers too, and they occasionally something bad would happen. But that wasn't like the thing that shut everything down. Again, he was a decent center last year.
Kind of reject the argument you're giving in this case, all right? Because you're saying, well, look, 32 teams missed on him. Not really, okay? Because if we go back into what was going on, we had moved on from Lindsley, okay? We didn't address the position in free agency. So we knew we needed a center, and we needed one that was going to start.
Yeah.
And
that's why we took Josh Myers.
None of these guys were going to go in the first round.
But Creed Humphrey should have, right? I mean, if we're being honest about it and saying he's this good and we should have known, like it was a big miss by us, we can't say it's a big miss by us when the entire league missed. We can't pretend that he was picked in the right spot and we just missed him by one pick. The entire league misevaluated him because his talent is conducive of probably getting picked around 10, right? I mean, legitimately. I don't remember who all else was picked, but I mean, you're talking one of the best offensive linemen in football. He should have been picked in and around that range.
Clearly. But they weren't going to make it to where the Packers picked in the third round either.
Right.
So,
well, I mean, they made their decision with Josh Myers, so it wasn't a matter of he wasn't going to make it around. It was a misevaluation. But it wasn't a misevaluation. This is the main point I'm trying to make. It wasn't a misevaluation, and this is why they get blurred and I want them separated. When I say it's a misevaluation, it's saying we need a center, and we took a center, and we got a good center. The thing that we missed is we need a center, we took a center, and the other center that was there available ended up being better. That was sort of and I'm sure they looked at Humphrey and liked him, but he didn't quite fit their profile to what they usually pick, and so they defaulted to Myers. I'm sure they were well aware of the potential of Creed Humphrey, but they were afraid of maybe the floor or the low side of what he could potentially be. So again, it's we speak in broad terms like misevaluation, but I just want to be specific in what's happening rather than speaking broadly as though one pick was bad because of, the other guy was not slightly, but the other guy was a lot better.
Yeah. Best player available, all that. We know that only applies, half the time, Anders Carlson was not the best player available. They need a kicker, right? Like, this stuff happens. But the Packers went into the second round knowing they were going to have to get their starting center.
Right.
I am
Myers.
as sure as I can be about that without actually knowing. I mean, but that would have made sense. And they literally had Josh Myers, 1 year, second team, Big Ten team guy against Humphreys, who, I mean, man, did you watch him play for Oklahoma? I mean, he was absolutely exploding people. I mean, this guy was coming off back-to-back Big 12 player of or offensive lineman of the year awards. This wasn't a secret. And to me, my point is that this was a either-or proposition in my mind between them, and they chose Myers over Humphrey, and that hurts me a lot, because I just think it would be a lot different offensive line. And I just wanted to get that back at you. I'll call back.
Yeah, and again, I think it's somewhat of an unfair argument. And I understand what you're saying, because you, even at that time, felt like this guy was automatic. But everybody thinks that about somebody. Right? I mean, you could apply that same logic to Christian Watson being a terrible decision. Christian Watson's a small school guy. I mean, it's stupid when we got other guys on the table. You could have taken Sky Moore. You could have taken Alec Pierce. Did you watch him? He looked literally like Jordy Nelson. And you took Christian Watson. I mean, you can do that in a lot of different situations. And sometimes you're right and sometimes you're wrong. And that's the whole point. Everybody has to make evaluations. The Packers made an evaluation. I don't know what went into that decision. But I stand by the fact that the league as a whole missed on Creed Humphrey. A guy that's that talented was misevaluated if he went in the second round. His talent, if you did a redraft, he would not go in the second round. He would not make it into the 20s. There's no way in the world. I would be shocked if he made it to midway through the first round. So, again, it's easy to go back and look and say, yeah, if you watched it, everybody knew. No, they didn't. A lot of people in the draft community thought they knew. And of course, there's a ton of hype about a ton of guys. Everybody's hyped up. Everybody's the greatest. Everybody's amazing. And the reality is most guys end up sucking. Occasionally, they meet the hype or they're good, but not quite the hype. And, sometimes they exceed it like Reed Humphrey. But even then, it's like, well, everybody should have known, right? You can look at Kingsley Enagbare. That was an incredible job by the Green Bay Packers to be able to pick him up. But instead, the attitude, instead of like, wow, that's a great evaluation by the Packers, is everybody else is stupid. Everybody knew like he was so great. I don't know. That's not how I guess, generally view things.
Hey, Kyle again. As for the game, man, I'll tell you what. Jordan Love's floor sure keeps raising, doesn't it?
Pause. And yes, by the way. Hello, hi, what's your name?
Hey, it's caller number 5.
What's going on, man?
Not much. Just had a quick question for you and then a comment about Rodgers.
All right.
So, question, would you rather have LVN have an impactful rookie season, or would you rather have Luke Musgrave have an impactful rookie season? I think both positions are pretty important. I'm leaning towards tight end because that makes our offense dynamic, but I'd love to get your thoughts. And then the comment was going to be about Rodgers, this tweet I saw about Rodgers where it said, he won't be snappy to teammates anymore if they mess up. I'm not the snappy type anymore, was the quote, which I think is really hilarious because he seems to be doing all the right leadership things now that he's out of Green Bay. And I'm just curious if if we had to pay a goot tax. Super annoying. But anyway, that was my question, my comment.
All right. I appreciate it, man. Take care.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, it does feel that. I mean, goot tax is a fantastic way to put it. It feels like we had to pay a goot tax. It's hard to believe that he's suddenly having all these epiphanies at the exact same time. I said it before. That's essentially what it was. He was doing things to spite one person, and it hurt everybody in the process. Maybe it was not necessarily to spite him, but he's just unhappy and whatever. I don't know. It's just whatever. I don't know. Luke Musgrave or Lucas Van Ness? Be sure to leave a comment, by the way. Let me know what you think. I was leaning Lucas Van Ness, but I do think Musgrave is probably the right answer. We have pass rushers. We got Gary. We got Smith. We got Kingsley's looking pretty solid. We'll see what Hollins can do. So I think even a mediocre Lucas Van Ness can be beneficial for our team. But yeah, having a weapon like Luke Musgrave on top of just the general damage that could do. We know how impactful really good tight ends are in the NFL. I don't think there's a team in the NFL that has like an elite tight end that sucks. Like Baltimore has one, and assuming their quarterback can stay healthy, they're absolutely playoff contenders. You've got the San Francisco 49ers have one. They somehow continue to succeed. Obviously, the Super Bowl champions. I mean, these are like the top guys. I'm sure there's a couple good tight ends on not great teams, but it's massively impactful. But then on top of that, being able to help Jordan Love. I mean, this is a big priority for this season is for Jordan Love to be able to be successful. But that is a good question. And it is not, for me anyways, not the easiest question. But anyways, back to Kyle.
I mean, I am really looking forward to the time coming soon when we can stop talking about will he be good and the conversation can switch to how good can he be? Because I think we are nearly at that point. I called you a couple weeks ago and I had said that my wish for the offense this year was to maximize these playmakers' abilities to play make and not button it up and run the ball, and that we needed to mitigate these procedural kind of young team mistakes by getting some explosive plays. And so far, it looks like that's what they're doing. I'm really happy about that. I love the mix of the runs with some really nice downfield looks and some intermediate passes, and I think they've got a great mix going. And I'm super pumped about that. I think wide receiver is really freaking interesting. We've got some, I'm sure people are talking about Malik Heath. I mean, how can you not be? I don't know what else you could possibly do. I mean, guys' helmets rolling down the field, and he's getting up just screaming. I mean, I think he's moved into 4. I think it's Watson, Dobbs, Reed, Heath. What's interesting to me is, and I don't know what this, maybe you'll know.
It is funny you said that because we just had the conversation about could Samori be on his way out. And again, I don't think so, but yeah, I mean, assuming Tay is healthy, you got Tay and Malik Heath. I wouldn't be surprised if they are a step ahead of where Samori Toure is. I'm just saying.
Well, by the time this comes out, what the status of Wicks is that, maybe they try and squeeze him on PUP for a few weeks or one of those designations. But I'm wondering, like, are they trying Toure at the returner because they don't think they have a receiver spot for him anymore? Like, is he in danger?
That's
because I think they don't think DeBose is going to make it up to the practice squad. That's just a guess, but it's going to get real interesting if they only keep 6. Hell, even if they keep 7, it's going to get interesting. So, I mean, is Toure the one? Is he the odd man out?
That's too funny.
I don't know. And Melton, he's made it to the practice squad once with Seattle. I think they're going to think they can get him on, but we'll see. The only other thing, well, a lot of things stood out, but is it just me or does Matt LaFleur look different? I mean, he sounds different. He sounds like a guy who just had like their annoying middle manager fired and was promoted or something. He's got, I don't know, he just seems more badass right now. Kind of more genuine and a lot less soft. And I don't know if that's, Rodgers and the amount of kind of politics and dancing around he had to do or what. But to me, he seems like a different guy this year. So I just want to get your thoughts on all that. All right. Appreciate the coverage, buddy.
Well, there definitely seems to be a better energy for the team in general. And you could see where things last year were sort of deteriorating. There was obviously a lot of frustration, but, part of that is with the season not going well. But I also do think Aaron Rodgers played a big part in that, not necessarily just because of his attitude. Pause. What's going on, brother man? Hello. Hype man.
What's up, Brian?
Hey,
how's it going, man?
There he is. What's up? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
What's going on, man?
So, this whole talk about Rodgers being different and stuff, I think it's just a situation with him being excited about a new place. He's been in Green Bay a long time. I think he's the dude that he wants to be traveling the world, doing a lot of things. And,
yeah.
I think it just kind of became a point where like he wanted to kind of do something different, and he didn't really like Gutekunst a whole lot maybe, but I think it was just kind of a situation thing. And that's the reason he's so jacked up about being on the Jets, but eventually that'll kind of wear off,
Yeah.
So that's kind of my take on Rodgers. And I also am really excited that the media is now turning the corner and they're on board with Jordan Love.
Yeah. And be sure to check out tomorrow's podcast. It is literally 2 hours of me going through clips of people gushing over Jordan Love. So don't miss that one. All right. Screw me, I guess. Hey, hi there. No, I don't, some bugs to work out with this whole system. I don't disagree with any of that. And I again, from a human level, I somewhat understand it, but I think the bottom line is he was disgruntled here. And the reason it's worth even mentioning is because a lot of us were told that the things we were saying. All right. Hello. It's not answering. It's Doug again. I don't know what the heck's going on. We were told that a lot of this stuff wasn't actually happening, right? He wasn't being a bad leader. Everything he was doing was just fine. You guys are overreacting. This is all nonsense. Dude, what are we doing here? Doug. Is your phone? Hey, there he is. What's up?
Hey, sorry. I think we had some technical issues. But yeah, no, that's the thing is that like a lot of people like to put a blame on Rodgers and say, like he's doing all this stuff that's new. And he's kind of dissing the Packers, but I think he's just a dude that wants to do new things. If you were on the same team for like how long he was, like, sometimes that might happen, right? Like I kind of can understand it a little bit when he feels like the team's not really doing everything they can that he wants, right?
Yep. No, I appreciate that, man. Appreciate the call. All right. Man, I'm so confused. Got 3 different conversations going on at once. I got to get back to Kyle and remember what he said. But again, it's you're right. It's not necessarily about he's doing something wrong now, even though I mean it is in a sense because it's just frustrating because it shines a light on how bad things were here. Garrett, what's going on?
Hey, I think the records show that your extended warranty has expired, and I would like to just talk to you about that a little bit.
Go ahead.
Or we could. I got 17 things I want to discuss about Anders Carlson.
Great. Start with the first one.
No.
Start with the third one, actually.
No.
Okay.
I'm pulling your leg.
All right.
Hey, I just wanted to ask you, when it comes to the season opener with Love, what is your expectations for like over under? How many touchdowns does he throw? How does our defense look versus their defense? Just throwing out there that first game.
All right, dude. Well, I appreciate the call.
Yep.
I can start using that hold function and putting people on hold. I'm so beyond lost. Aaron Rodgers was not doing things right here. That has become very clear. That is not debatable anymore. You can make excuses. Well, Gutekunst was a bad person. Okay. Well, Rodgers still chose to be a douchebag about it. So that was his choice. Getting back to Garrett now. Over under on Jordan Love. I haven't really contemplated that. It's hard. I could go back and kind of look at what some of my projections were before about Jordan Love, as far as like touchdowns per game and whatnot, and what his season was going to be. But let's just say, I was gonna say like 1.5 touchdowns, but I don't think so. This dude goes out in preseason and in 2 drives, he ends up with a touchdown. So he's like 2 touchdowns on 4 drives here, in the preseason so far. Man, oh man, what does he do? And the Bears defense is terrible. I mean, he's, maybe a little bit of a slow start. I'll tell you what, I'm going to say Jordan Love has 3 touchdowns. What do I even look at here? What am I trying to figure out? What could I say about how many yards he gets? What does he have so far here? He got 84 and a touchdown in just his 8 attempts. That's crazy. Hold on. So if we just do, let's call it just 68. Whew. How about 350 yards and 3 touchdowns? Is that stupid? That might be stupid. But I feel like I want to do it anyways. That's high. And it's just spitting right in Justin Fields' face because that dude, he can't throw for 300 yards to save his life. Let's just say plus 300. So over 300 and 3 touchdowns. Passing touchdown. No. I'll give myself an out there. 3 touchdowns. That's what we're going to do. Kyle. What were we talking about, Kyle? The wide receivers. Something about that? Dang it. Oh, Matt LaFleur and his attitude and all that stuff. Yeah, the energy is definitely better with the team overall. It's one of the things I kind of talked about tomorrow on the podcast is even the media has like it's so weird because you listen to them talk positively about the Packers, and I make the claim tomorrow that this is like the first time we've heard positivity about the Packers in like 5-6 years. And that sounds silly because it's like we were good in 21. People said nice things. Yeah, but it was always begrudgingly. You just always felt like the media started to hate the Packers after a while, and they didn't like it. And it's kind of like, yeah, that's that stupid garbage freaking team with that coach that isn't actually good, but he just looks good because of Rodgers, and that front office that's just so stupid, and those dumb backwoods redneck fans, and this just stupid organization that's being dragged around by Aaron Rodgers, and that dude can't do jack in the postseason. I'm so sick of this team. You know what I mean? Like it was, yes, they're going to be good, but whatever. Now it almost feels kind of fresh, like they hit the reset button, and I didn't really expect it. But again, we're going to spend 2 hours tomorrow going through a lot of the positivity that is now being circulated about the Packers. And it does kind of feel fresh. It feels different. It feels kind of like actual positivity, actual excitement from the media about this, which I haven't heard like excitement about the Packers in such a long time. Maybe, you know, a little bit about Christian Watson when he went through his little patch there. But as a team, when was the last time like the team as a whole? And I'm telling you, man, Tom, give me 2 seconds here. Never mind. I can't do it with that thing blaring into my ear. Tommy boy.
Hey, so I was listening. Do you think the reason why the media has let up a little bit is because the Packers aren't deemed threatening anymore? That they're not like, the Packers, they'll be fun to watch this season. Not going to do anything, but they'll be fun. Because with Rodgers, they were always a threat. They're always seen as a threat. A lot of people didn't like Rodgers, and so maybe that's the reason why people always kind of bash the Packers. Because they don't like us because they ain't us.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Hate us because they ain't us. I get it.
And so that's my thought process for that matter is maybe that's the reason why that they've let up a little bit is because they're not too worried about the Packers. And I know it's a little, what's the word here, egotistic to think that all these guys think about the Packers like that. But at the same time, it is one of the most, decorated, have long-lasting legacy, and for the past couple decades have been pretty well dominant, not necessarily in the playoffs, but overall as a team. And so now that it's let up, they're like, oh, yeah, fine, we'll be nice to them. They're not the Bears,
Yeah, are you on the lake?
Am I calling from the lake?
Yeah. Sounds like there's a waterfall or something.
No, that's just my vehicle and probably my AC on. It's hot out.
Yeah, I thought it was something cool. All right, man, I appreciate the call.
All righty, back to it.
Bye. So it kind of actually ties into what I've been saying about the media and whatnot. And I'll say I don't necessarily think so because the media thought we weren't a threat and they were been gloating all offseason. They've been so happy about it all offseason. It's not like, well, they're not a threat. They're, oh, look how cute. And they could have been that way. Like, oh, yeah, maybe they can. It's been more like you freaking bunch of jag-off losers have been terrorizing us for years, and now you're going to suffer. You're going to freaking suffer. And I'm going to laugh in your face. So this sort of about face that's happening where it's like, oh, boy, they could really be something. It just what I'm saying is it feels like it has a different feel to it. It has a different feel in terms of, again, we go through a lot of it tomorrow. I don't want to talk about all of it today, but just in terms of feeling like there is a new sort of energy behind this team that people are starting to buy into. And it's weird because I didn't really think it was that big of a deal. Like we looked okay. We looked fine. Jordan Love looks good. It's not like the greatest performance a quarterback has ever done through 2 games and 10 passes or whatever. But it looked good. But it's like all of a sudden everybody is not just behind Jordan, but the entire organization. Gutekunst is a genius for building this team that can support Jordan Love. Like, what? Since when? I mean, I don't disagree, but since freaking when is the media talking about what a great job Brian Gutekunst has done to build around Jordan Love? I thought this whole problem was that Aaron Rodgers didn't have anything. Now suddenly there's this great foundation here for a quarterback to sit behind. And Matt LaFleur, he's got this great elite young passing, this offensive minded genius play caller. Like, since when? I thought he was getting dragged around like a puppy by Aaron Rodgers. So yeah, I'm just I'm a little excited. I'm also a little nervous because I feel like if Jordan Love throws a single interception, it's all just going to go to 0. It's part of the reason why I want it to happen even more. But no, it's very interesting because I didn't expect it. I didn't think this is how the media would handle it. I thought that they would be very angry because they seem to really want the downfall of the Packers to happen. And maybe the reason that they're just not showing it is because they're trying to get out in front of it. This is the new cool hip thing to do, is to get on the Packers bandwagon. So everybody's jumping on it. And you don't want to seem like you're begrudging because you want to seem like you saw it all along, which is what 90% of them said. Back 6 months ago, I told you. in between like Packers hate, love hate, this guy hate. Oh, here's a little clip of me saying Jordan could be good. Here's some more hate, some more hate. They're all full of crap. Yeah. Real quick, smash that like button, says Daniel. If you're in here and you're not subscribed, please subscribe. Please hit the bell notification so that you know when we go live every single time and you don't call in accidentally when we are, actually live and whatnot, which works out fine. But please do me that favor. I'm trying to get this thing built up a little bit. So if you could help with that, that would be absolutely fantastic. We are going to get out of here. We're right at an hour. So again, I appreciate all of you. Make sure you're subscribed. Check out the Packernet podcast right there. And I'll catch you.